There you go. Welcome, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome to another essential conversation here at Wellbeings. And today, we got this dude in the house. Yeah. Is it the heart? Well, I think they're both hearts. I'm not quite sure. No, I know for sure there's two hearts there. This is Oliver Lang, everybody. Oliver's a former professional paintballer, played for the San Diego dynasty, a pretty big deal. He has had a business in Asia, sensory deprivation tanks, really helping people through cutting down the sensory stimulation to come back to themselves in a deep and real way. He's also into organic diet. He's a fashion designer. Look at the coolness of that dude, that cat back there. And you know what? He's all about living an extraordinary life. And I was sitting here thinking, feeling into like, what is it that makes an extraordinary life? And I felt into like us as humans, we have this, like we don't see the world the way it is. We see the world the way we are. So I'm imagining in my own mind, it has to have something to do with how you see things, right?
That's certainly, yeah.
But hey, man, that's Oliver. Welcome, brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me, brother. It's been a long journey knowing this guy and being a patient of his also. When I first kind of had my coming to, and that was in my little eat, pray, love, so to say. He was one of the first people that I came to visit here. And you actually really shifted something for me. And I'm always forever grateful for that. So it's an honor to be on the show with you today.
Oh, thank you. And so, man, I was going to quickly run on and not receive that, but I'm just going to park up with the handbrake and just say, hey, anybody out there having trouble receiving like compliments? Having trouble, like it's part of an extraordinary life, by the way, learning to let that shit in, let that digest, assimilate, how quickly we run on and not acknowledge it. So thank you.
Good point. That was a big lesson right there, actually.
Yeah, man. We're all still chipping away at it here. This is not something you just get it and it's done. No, it's you're working on it. Presence has a little bit to do with it.
That's right.
But yeah, man, like tell us a little bit about this journey, man. Like where you've like, yeah, take us back to wherever you feel is important.
Yeah, it's been a remarkable one so far. I'm just turning 39, so I feel like, in a way, I feel like I'm brand new. I feel like this is just the beginning of something, but also at the same time, it's been like a pretty remarkable life so far, And I really, the essence of this is that we really can do everything that we want to do in life. We really are the master creators of our reality, and it's like you said, it's like how you see the world is, kind of the way you operate in this. And so at a young age, I was a pretty specialized skateboarder. Yeah. And I was like living in this era of, in San Francisco, if you know skateboarding at all, there's a place called the Embarcadero, and the Embarcadero was like the skateboard hub of the world.
Was it like Tony Hawk's?
It was
after him.
It was kind of after Tony Hawk, yeah. And it was like at this moment where really pro skaters kind of came onto the scene and started to make careers, yeah. But I was really young. I was maybe only like 7 or 8 or 9, like going and skating with these guys, yeah. And then I transitioned. I had a bunch of older friends who were just a grade older than I was, because I was actually held back in kindergarten because I was too young. So this is what they do in America, yeah. And so all my friends were older than I was. So then when we went to middle school, my friends left me, and I didn't have any more friends because they all graduated and went to high school. And I kind of had to give up skateboarding at that point because I needed to acclimate with my peers. And that was the moment that I found paintball, yeah. And so skateboarding had taught me a lot about how to just kind of get back up and try it again, right? Like skateboarding is all about trying, falling. And after a couple thousand times, maybe you land that kickflip. Maybe you land that, that staircase that you're ollie, but it's a lot of tumbles. So then,
a lot of metaphor, man.
Yeah, it really is. And that's life, right? Like continuously getting back up. I mean, life's going to bash you and you're going to get smashed in so many different ways. And can you just get back up and dust yourself off and get back up and try to get, it ain't no thing.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I meet a lot of clients sometimes, and the thing is, they're so angry at what the life has dealt them,
That's right.
and there's a way in which they stay stuck in not accepting what's been handed out, and they want what they, we often want life on our terms,
Right.
but it's about rolling with what's here and getting up when it's hard, and getting up when you're knocked down, getting up when we're hurting, and keep moving. So I never put it together with the skateboarding, but that's beautiful, man, and the amount of knocks you get to just that one moment in time. It's
right.
ridiculous.
And then the beauty of it is you fall and you fall and you fall, and then you land it, and then it's like a sublime moment in time, and you're like rolling away, and you're like, did anybody see that? Like, somebody get that on camera, and then you do it again, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I've got this. I can do this trick now. You actually take that trick and you put it into your tool belt of tricks as a skateboarder, right? Yeah. And then if you become really good at skateboarding, you have multiple tricks, and then you can cruise down and do this and do that and do that. And again, that's kind of like life too, right? So then I rolled into my 8th grade year. And I didn't have very many friends, and I had one kind of a little bit of a friend that was in the same grade as me, but he went to a different school. And we went and we played paintball. And it's like the cliche kind of birthday party experience, right? Paintball seems to be that's the way that you get introduced to the game, right?
So before paintball, you didn't play like Nintendo. You didn't do like you didn't get into that sort of group games with like military-esque sort of
No, not so much. We did a little bit of the laser tag, because at that time, I don't know, where the viewers are from the world, but there was a time where laser tag was quite popular, in California especially. But I think as kids you love running around, and you love kind of playing cops and robbers, and you love crawling through the bush, right? I mean, it's just kind of an innate child thing to do, and just play like that. So I think I was gearing up for that, and then paintball really just takes that to the next level of it, because you're like in the moment. There's kind of a heat of a battle. There's there's a little bit of a stress, a healthy stress almost, right? And you're getting shot at, and you've got to eliminate the other player. So it really is like the playing amplified to like upwards.
So that first moment you got in there was like, this is it. This is the thing.
I think it was the first moment that I actually shot somebody. Yeah, it was like a thrill. It was like a full rush of something came through me, and I was like, "Well, that was really fun," And then you come off, and either you get eliminated too, which is also a rush, and then you're kind of hooked right at that point, because you're like, you felt it. And I think that's also something that's special about paintball, that whether you're a 39-year-old man or a 14-year-old girl, you can go play this game and you can get that same sort of feeling, right? And it never gets old either. That's the other thing, is sometimes you do something so long and you're kind of like, whatever. But if I go and I play paintball now, I still get that feeling, after so many years of playing, like instantly.
Well, in the therapeutic world, and that I sit with clients, and I dish out prescriptions of play.
That's right.
Yeah. Like when I'm hearing, in this moment, and again, for any of the viewers out there, it's like, what happens when we get back on all fours? Maybe we do that with our kids sometimes, but getting out into nature and rolling, and like just these sort of things that we forgot when we started to become all serious and started all rigid and all sort of tight and all. But like, as I hear you talking about it, I'm thinking, man, I never played paintball. I never got the chance to play it. But I always thought about playing it, and I always loved the idea, because I love that military. I could have been in the military at one stage. There was a sort of, from my past life, I suppose, a sort of drawn towards battle and drawn towards skirmishes and whatnot. But wow, man, that aliveness is universal.
Totally. And the other interesting thing about paintball is that when you do play it, that kind of military aspect of it, although it seems like it's a big part of it, it's actually not. So you kind of it's role play also, which is another part of therapy, right? Is to role play something out. So if you role play battle, and if you role play military, but then you actually don't need to go do it, what I'm saying? So that's kind of also the beautiful thing about paintball, is it's like you can get out there and go shoot somebody and get shot, but it's not real life, and you can continue on with life after that. you know, and you can exert and cathartic that,
Mhm.
you know, and even when you're in there, you know, there is moments where each other, you know, you get at each other, you know, and it's like, hey, I shot you and now you just shot me 10 times and, you know, and all that comes out, right? And there's something also therapeutic about that, right? Because how much stuff do we just cram in there? And how much stuff do we just shove and shove and shove and shove? And then one day, you know, your significant other does something and you let her have it, or you let him have it. And it's like, well, that wasn't really healthy. You know, you just crammed all that for however many years. And it could go even to a place of physical abuse or something even worse. So we want to get this out, you know, we want to be able to we want to be able to express and play, right? So there's so many therapies involved in this. You know?
Well, I love this. And again, for anybody watching, you know, like just think about how often do we play these games, right? But games that have an unhealthy payoff where we discharge, whether it's, you know, it's like, you know, trying to stay the victim, and we just have people come in to like offer suggestions, and we just say yeah, but no, and then we stay yeah, more advice, and then yes, but no, and then we stay and it's just sort of like both people end up getting frustrated,
right?
Or sometimes another game comes where someone's jealous and they're, where were you last night? I was playing with John. Are you sure? I checked the office. Well, you don't believe me. And then anger comes and frustration comes.
That's right,
what you're talking about is, you know, a very healthy environment to be able to get in touch with these primal aspects of self.
Right.
The reason why I didn't become a military person, I was signed up to join the French Foreign Legion.
Wow, I could see this guy in the French Legion.
I went and I was meant to be getting picked up in Paris, and there's lots of things, but for a camera here, what I'll share is this: is I met someone from the French Foreign Legion,
right?
And it scared the life out of me what I saw. I had this romantic idea of what it was going to be like, and then I saw someone who I couldn't see anything when I saw him. He was beaten up. So that's the price you pay when you go in to actually do it in real life.
But that's actually another great, wonderful learning insight. There is like, you know, first of all, I want to heal. I want to be healed by people. I want to be around people who I want to be, you know? And if it's like, I want to be something and I look at this guy and he's really, you know, it's not all totally put together. And he's actually, in fact, pretty rad and tatted, you know, it's like, well, maybe I don't want to do that, you know? So a good way of knowing if you want to go into something is observe the people who are doing it, you know, and see what you can learn from them so that you can make the choice. Because if the guy's brilliant and you're like, oh man, I want to do what that guy's doing. And that's how it should feel, you know?
Yeah, that sort of culture. You want to be around a certain type of culture, whether it's in a business or whether it's with a culture you teach to your employees or your staff, like a way of being together. Or maybe, I know not all families have got the most banging culture and like the most positive vibe, but where as we mature, how we can heal that in different ways by looking inward and working on ourselves.
And that's a good point. Like actually, it starts in the family, right?
It just replays in all the other groups then.
Well, I mean, I think there's one thing to be like a hero in the public's eye, or like a politician, or whatever that iconic person is, but like actually to be that in your home is way cooler to me. You know, like if you're the super dad and you actually really embody that, like, man, that's way cooler than being a superhero, you know? Like,
yeah, and I think how you become a super dad, or how you become like a good enough dad, which is what I would lean towards, would be by the sort of many journeys. I'm going to use the word Joseph Campbell here because you love Joseph and I love Joseph and I love that mythical work. But we use this word, check it out, guys. It's Joseph Campbell. It's, again, where we're called, we have this internal journey of becoming our own hero. It's like called the initiation, the call to adventure, going into the uncharted territory of our own trauma and pain and suffering, and going through that journey and learning along the way, learning all these things we learn along that road, along that journey, and it shapes us, and then it helps. Then we bring that to our children, or to our beloved, or to our community, or to our friends.
And that's the essence of an extraordinary life.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, they have to self-reflect to see, am I living that life that is, that life that I want to live? And that means if you're having that realization, or listening to this now, and you don't feel that, like, it's time to start your hero's journey, right? And this is where you're going to slay dragons, and you're gonna meet the wise people, and it's the full story that is also just penetrated into us through every Hollywood movie that we see, to a certain degree. It's always the hero's journey. I don't know about now, I haven't watched movies recently, but at least Star Wars, when I was growing up, this is what it's the essence of it, right?
Yeah, like imagine living that journey internally where you go on those adventures with yourself, where you meet those demons or those dark parts of our being, instead of pointing at, oh, look at that violent person, or we have that inside too. Oh, look at that crazy politician who tells lies. Well, guess what? We do as well. And I had a client this morning, and the work was really around how it was so painful for her that people were talking about her and judging her. And we, at the end of the work, we realized that there was no one more harsh in judging her than herself. And she was able to slowly look at that and let that sort of construct go a little bit. But man, so you're in this thing. So you through a leaving of friends, through almost like a trauma, like a sort of a departure, and then a renegotiation with your environment, you fell in love, and I guess that you took to the paintball pretty well.
Yeah, so that was another great chapter closing and a new chapter opening. And so the skateboard kind of chapter left me. Those people left me, and I took the gems from that, and then the new chapter unfolded, and that was paintball, and that was a 20-year journey, man. And we really did it, and we were really like, I don't know, it sounds cliche to say, but we're in the right place at the right time for this. And so there's still momentum, and there's still some traction in it. And I just retired now 5 years. And so like, that's why I say my life is still kind of unfolding into again, a new beginning, because that chapter just closed, but a new chapter always opens, right?
Yeah. And it's about being able to have the courage to do that. So that comes back to like another thing that we all deal with. We tend to hold on sometimes, guys. We tend to, I suppose, grasp on to the dull safety of an unfulfilled life. We just hang back and then whoa, and then it's the courage it takes to take that step, and well, first of all, acceptance and letting go somewhat of where we were, what we did, who even behaviors that we had back in the day, to be able to move forward. So what was that process like? So you went through paintballing, and guys, just by the way, he didn't do this half-assed. He got to the top echelon in the world of being the top team in the world, training other teams how to do it. He took it to a new level. He took it to a new stratosphere that it never had been taken to before. He set the example and the quality, and reinvented the sport. So as you killed it, so how was that transition of being able to really letting that go? Was it something that was effortless to you, or was it sometimes felt that it was pulling you back? So that's quite a you just a lot. There's power tied up in that. There's image tied up in that. There's a sort of sense of maybe grandiosity in it. There's a sort of sense of coming together, a team, a group of like fellow warriors. There's so and we have to let that go. Like, how do we do that?
It was not easy, but I think I think the one thing that you have to go into this life with is this awareness. Yeah, so it's like I got to that place that I had set my scope for. That was a high, lofty level of expertise within this one thing, and I dedicated my young adult life to it. So to kind of like come back a little bit, it's like, I know you can do whatever you want to do in this life, because I did it, and I did something that wasn't even it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to be the CEO of this business, or I'm going to be a millionaire. Like, there's a lot of that. I was like, I'm going to be the best in the world at paintball. Like, there's actually not many of those, and there's even the best in the world at baseball and football. Like, that's a very small window of I was really shooting for the stars.
Yeah, there's not so many Tiger Woods around.
There's
right. Not so many like what do you call that big tall Jordan?
That's right. So I was aiming for that, and I had the courage as a youth to kind of deflect all of the normal conditioning that was being kind of perpetuated towards me. Like, I didn't go to college, which was already a big kind of thing, you know. And I was chasing this dream, which was also like, people are like, what are you doing? You know, like that doesn't make sense. So already when you start to think outside of the normalcy, you get a challenge, you know. And I kind of liked it because, well, first of all, I wasn't very, you know, scholastic. So they're definitely like school to me. I was like, yeah, well, whatever, you guys can have that. You know, this is the way I'm going. But you have to fight against that. You know, you have to fight against that pull to kind of follow the stream, right? Yeah. And so once I had separated myself and I had challenged myself and rode this wave of playing professional paintball, and again, like being in the right place at the right time, you know, I got there. You know, I got there probably relatively quick, actually, in my career. And then I looked around, you know, and I said, okay, so this is it. This is what you wanted. This was your life's purpose, right? And now what? You know, and that was actually the strongest, most important, powerful moment of it, because I realized, well, you can do it. So, well, that's cool. Well, what can you do for other people? How can you help other people? Like, is this all about you? So then I realized, okay, what I've got to do is I've got to make other people better. Okay, let me become extremely good at this game and not just be the iconic best player, because to be honest, there's a lot of people who are really good mechanically at a lot of things, but to be really, really exceptionally excellent at something, you have to make everybody else around you better. Right. So that was this huge kind of distillation of knowledge that came through me, that realized that, first of all, I need all you guys really good. So let me help you get really good. I know what I've got to do to be really good, and let me make you guys excellent. Okay. Or let me help you, you know, because you're going to do it yourself pretty much. I'm just going to be kind of the assistant in this. And I rode that wave for a while too, in a really kind of more upper echelon version of the game. And there was one year where it was actually one of the first years I came to Bali, and I was, you know, kind of having what you would call a spiritual awakening. You know, I was meeting wise people. I was on the hero's journey, like full on. You know, I had kind of separated myself again from the paintball world, which was my identity and everything that I knew, and all the comfort, right? Even if it was excellent. It was like a golden handcuffs, right? It was like everything was good, but I still knew that I needed to kind of, there's more, right? So I actually took a sabbatical, and that was the first year I met you. And I met this one girl here in Ubud, and she was like, I was like, I'm thinking about one of these cafe conversations, thinking about like, yeah, you know, taking a sabbatical. She looks at me. I don't even know this girl. She's like, everybody needs a sabbatical. And I never heard anybody say that with so much gusto and so much like, I was like, okay, I'm doing it. So I took a year off actually. And I really, you know, I flew, you know, I was here, I was in India, and I really did a lot of things. And a lot of things started to click and happen. I had a business in San Diego, a restaurant, like eating like processed meats and breads and cheeses. And like, I just knew I had to get away from that, you know, like I knew I needed to clean up my diet. I knew I needed to refine my, my senses by, you know, just once you start to do that, a lot of things start to click, right? You know, you just become more open and receptive, and things are clear, you know, and then things just make more sense. You're like, oh, well, I should drink water instead of beer. Oh, that makes a lot of sense, you know.
Small steps first, everybody, you know, for change. Like we start looking inward, and maybe it's diet. Maybe it's going to see the dentist you haven't seen in the last 25 years.
It could be combing your hair. It could be getting a haircut, you know. It could be cleaning your room, you know.
Making your bed.
So then I just started to, I was really feeling so alive, and I wasn't even playing paintball, which was really also a different feeling for me, because it was almost like I needed to do this to receive something, because that's what made me feel alive, where all of a sudden now I wasn't doing it and I was feeling alive, right? So I kind of came back, and I was wrangled back into play, and you know, I had a good year, and we won some events, and then the following year I was gonna quit, and they said, okay, look, you know, just come back again, because they love you, you know, and you got to love that, because you're wanted and it feels good. We actually ended up not winning a tournament that year. But something about that year, I put it into my books as one of my best years, because I was so loving and so tender to my teammates, and some of them were younger, and I like, we made such deeper connections, like it wasn't anymore about winning, it was more about growth. It was more about evolution. And I realized that that's what I can do for these people, like this is what I want to do. I want to inspire evolution and growth, and understand self-understanding, right? So I stopped, and I had to, in order, when you do something to that magnitude, you have to be prepared, because otherwise it's just going to have its claws in you and yank you back. So I had to go live in a place that was better than I was living before. So I moved to Bali. I had to do something that I was really interested in, that I really wanted to, feel. And so I got into the sensory deprivation tanks, because I had an experience maybe almost 10 years ago now, when I was still playing paintball. It was a pretty profound experience in a flotation tank that was actually kind of like a set me off. Yeah. And it took me a long time to unpack it. And it took me a long time to kind of like weave it all together. And now I get it. Now I really get it. Like even more than I got it like 2 years ago. And that's kind of the hero's journey still, right? You're like picking up the cookie crumbs that are coming across.
You get that initiation. Sometimes you have that conversation, you have that meeting, you have that internal experience, you have the calamity, you have something going on, and it doesn't seem to make sense, and you might forget about it for a while, but it's percolating.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And that's a good point. Like a conversation, even a conversation like this, something might come through and it might hit you in a place. And you don't know why, but then you sit back, and then a year later you go, oh, that's what that guy said at that time. And that's the meaning. And actually, you know what? I want to pursue that, or I want to try that. And so that's the beauty of the scheme of the spirit, I call it, because it's like, it's working, and it's working on all of us all the time. Do we have the capacity to perceive it, And so when you jump, right, or you kind of, take this leap of faith, it all kind of starts to happen. So I had to move. When I moved to Ubud, I just killed myself, to be honest, psychologically, metaphorically, and I became a new person, and I was able to keep the good and let go of the bad, and evolve the new.
What was some of the steps, for the people out there who are stuck in a job they don't like, or only after having a divorce, and they think that like the world is where they feel stuck in the world somewhere? What are those little small steps that you did? Didn't have to be big things, but what helps to reshape a way of seeing things? How to move out of a particular way of being into another? I know it's not like one day you wake up and it's all something new and fresh, but what was some of those breadcrumbs you talked about that supported that sort of evolution?
Well, I mean, ultimately, it's really having some perspective on the situation, right? Because most of the time we're so in the situation. It's like paintball, right? Like a great example is when I'm in the game and I'm playing. It's like, I'm not thinking about anything else that's going on in my regular life. I'm just full on in this moment, right? And then whatever unfolds, the calamity, the disaster, maybe I get shot, maybe we lose, whatever the situation is, I come off the field and I have to look at it, and I have to try to read it, kind of like a book, right? Like the game was something, there's all these things that unfolded. How can you do that with your day-to-day, And that's the kind of that's what I would say is, why I was pushing meditation so much, because meditation gives you that a brief glimpse of your perspective of something. It can take you away from it. I think the best thing you can do is just really extract yourself from the situation, which could mean changing all your patterns, like go on a fast, right? Go to the woods for a couple of days, go do something totally different that you wouldn't do. And that's going to give you some really clear cut, new perspective on your life, right? And then you can realize, okay, look, I'm getting a divorce, I'm miserable, all these things, because I have been so in the game, I've been so focused on it, and I haven't been able to see it. But all these things are also kind of part of it. They're all kind of part of the program. Like if your life is getting, you got to look at your life and really reflect on it. But if your life's getting kind of distorted and smashed and it's getting more difficult and it's crumbling, that's probably in a weird way a really good thing, because you're about to punch through something. You're about to get through some light, right? It's kind of like when you meet somebody and they're being hit rock bottom, you know, they're in full, you know, they're smashed, you know, like everything's come down and they got no choice but to fight their way out of this.
Yeah, you know, it's one reason why I love working in addiction, for example, is because often when people look and seek for help, sometimes it's when they get to that place where they have to come up, or it's done. You know?
That's right. So it's kind of an amazing thing. It sucks, right, when you're in it, because it's like, okay, my wife's leaving me, I got no money, whatever the situation is. But then you extract yourself from it, and you know, hopefully gain the tools that you need to persevere on. And then 2 years later, you go, damn, I'm so glad my wife left me and I'm out of that relationship. I'm so glad I'm out of that job. I'm so glad that happened. In the weirdest way, you reflect on it and say, thank you for that devastation.
That's if you do those. You could stay in that sort of purgatory your whole life.
That's right. I think most people end up doing that. They don't have that. There's this one book, the Four Agreements, by Miguel Ruiz, and it's just like, don't take things personally. It's just like, really, that's like such a profound, and be impeccable, right? So it's like, well, okay, if you do those, it's just those two enough right there. You're going to have, you know, the tool to get out of that slump. Right?
Well, what he's saying there is like for you to be in adult consciousness.
That's
right. Instead of being in the child hurt and beaten up, or in the parent contaminant, where it's like, it should be like this, it should be like that, culturally and also family system. To be in the adult is an executive, to be able to look around objectively what's happening without the charge. That sometimes takes a bit of work, guys.
Yeah.
It takes a bit of work, and therapeutic help, and definitely reading about it and joining groups and different therapeutic groups can help you cultivate that ability, where we don't keep falling back into these repetitive patterns of I'm the victim, or I'm the rescuer, or I'm the persecutor, for example. It's three sort of archetypes, we could call them.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we can break free from that. But something I'm curious about, so we're changing our way of seeing the world. What happens next when we move into relationship? Although this is part of it, so we're changing how we see the world. To get an extraordinary life, what's the flavor of their sort of relational values that you have? Because it starts to percolate through everything then, right? So then when it comes to like connection with friends, well, again, I didn't pause you then, but there was something beautiful that you said earlier, Oliver, where you said it wasn't about winning anymore, but what I felt was it wasn't about winning, but it became about connection.
Yeah, helping each other.
Yeah, and then so now as we live in this sort of, you know, this sort of upgraded life in a way, how does it translate into relationship for you?
It's a super good point, and a really essential part of the journey is that I had great friends. I feel like I've always had really great friends, but even my greatest friends were in a sometimes holding me down, you know, and I wasn't aware of that until I also kind of sidestepped them, you know, and loving them with care and compassion for them and their journey, sidestepping them and doing what I had to do and focusing more on myself for a little bit. I was able to, again, kind of cliche to say, but like kind of raise my vibration to that place where I started to attract kind of a new caliber of relations, you know, whether it be friends or mentors or, partners, like female partners, you know, the caliber, the quality of individual changed, because what I was interested in and the way that I was kind of magnetizing myself out there, it was bringing the same thing in, right? It was like even the other day when we met before this call and we had that conversation, and then you had messaged me and you said, hey, you know, I'd love to have you on the show. Instantly I thought, well, look, you know, it's interesting because we've known each other for so long. And then we calibrated and we realized that we were synchronized into the same kind of a same sort of vibration. And then you're like, hey, can you come on the show? And it's like, in a way, also, this is a beautiful recognition for myself, because I know what a high caliber individual you are and how hard you've been working on yourself for a really long time, you know, like even before I even knew what anything was, you showed me a lot of, even you were telling me about Vipassana. I didn't even know what a Vipassana was, you know what I'm saying? So I know that you've been working on yourself for a long time, and you've been doing a lot of, growth, and now you're doing this type of work. So it's like to meet the other day and to synchronize, and then for you to ask me onto the show. Now I can feel and I can see my resonance is now pairing up to yours, So to me, that also feels really good, right? So to answer your question about relationships, when you start to kind of up level yourself, the relationships just occur, Even today, I think, or no, was it today or was it yesterday? We seen each other driving down the road, and I see you all the time, and you always got a helmet on. Today you didn't have a helmet on, and you seen me, and I seen you. So it's like the vibration's there, boom, and we honked, and then you honked, right? So it's interesting, like that's the pull of all this, right? And I think it's, I think it was actually Napoleon Hill or one of these really wealthy American. He said, you got to judge yourself by your closest 5 people in your life, So you can, it's pretty easy if you're looking at your 5 friends and they're kind of, whatever they are. If they're good, great, then you can kind of reflect onto yourself and say, yeah, I'm up there, like this guy's this, and this guy's a business owner and doing this, and he's good to his wife and good father. And, that's where I stand. If your friends are kind of low lives, and they're all low lives, and, you might not be a low life, but you're kind of sinking into that same type of vibration, right? So yeah, the more you kind of, I think you walk in your alignment, like it's so, everybody talks about purpose these days, and I believe in purpose, but I believe that it's kind of like your purpose will come way down the road once you've been in alignment with your life for a long time,
Well, purpose, throw purpose out the window a long time ago, like passion instead. Passion.
I like passion too. Well, passion is what's going to draw in all the things that need to occur. Right?
And for me to get passion, everybody, and what my clients start to experience, and what I've learned along the way, and it's about, again, coming back to the good old Campbell, and it's about learning to understand what the bliss of being in this, like bliss is the bliss of being right here, right now, feeling the heartbeat, feeling the pulse of someone, being able to be, and another thing you talked about early on is, and this is a struggle we have, I think, in the world today, where we can have closeness and we can have togetherness, but we can have individualization. We can be separate than you, as you were moving out of your friends back then. You found your way, and I think it's not, you're not better or worse than and when you start to find yourself, and a part of finding yourself is being able to be with yourself in new and meaningful ways, and then bring that new meaningful ways to other people. And that cultivates a sort of passion in me that then starts to come through my body and heal my body, and then also ripples out to projects. I stop chasing things. I stop things chase me. Things find me.
That's right.
And I think that happens because we become a beacon of some sort.
I think you're aligned with the path that you should be walking, and then it's like, there's, I don't know, God or whatever it is. Okay, this is what you need because you're on the path, and this is it, and this is the friends you're going to need. And you're like, even coming in Ubud, like you said, sometimes I meet people, like men, and they're just soul brother, and then they leave, and maybe I don't see them anymore, and I met them for 2 days, but we're like best friends, we talk, and we always are caring about each other, and they're having lives and babies or whatever it is, and it's like the connection is so rich and deep, and we're cheering each other on from a distance. Doesn't mean that we're like, hey bro, you want to go get a beer? It's like, no, we're all in this together, and we're like, I've got such a group of brothers that I never see or never even talk to, but we're all kind of in that same upward shift, and it's like we're all boosting each other up.
But I think, I believe that's everywhere in the world. There's like other people doing that. This is a special part here in Bali, but I've had experiences when I'm in Dublin, or when I'm in an airport in Frankfurt, or when I'm in New York, and there's that, you bring that magic with you, man. Totally. And it's like, and what is that magic? It's just connection, guys. And it's just connection. It's a big thing. And it's also, let's make it an ordinary thing as well. Let's not dramatize it as something. Yeah. This thing about taking some time every day and just slowing down and feeling into the body, feeling how do I feel today? Like what's actually here today? Whoa, like how's things with me and my partner? How's things? Yeah, I just got off the phone with my mom. How was that?
Yeah.
Really reflecting and slowing it down to either be curious if something was happening that shouldn't have happened, or how to go back in and kind of think about your thinking, I suppose, would be one way to orientate to it. And how often we think that our first thoughts are so real without taking a moment to slow it down and pause.
That's right. It's that slowing down and pausing, but like most people never do that because we're so in it, so you really have to figure out how to demonstrate that pause in your life. Like there's so many methods.
That's an important statement. What are some of the ways that you have designed pauses in your life for you to come back home and come out of the busyness that we all get caught up in sometimes?
Well, I've noticed that because again, like I like to look at my life. Okay, so I got a life, and then I have like segments of my life, right? So if you do some of this type of therapy work, you can look at your life and you can kind of even timeline it, right? So I started to timeline my life a little bit, and I started to see where I was the most productive in terms of my age and in terms of what I believe was meaning of productivity. Sometimes productivity means not doing anything, to be honest. But a couple of those, there's acts that I do, right? So for instance, like I could take a bath, like I just go in the bath, and that's like a moment where I give myself, which could be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, and I can reflect and I can have some stillness, and also it's good for the body. And then I can leave. And what I did is I realized that actually there were certain times in my life where I had a bath and I didn't, and then I was looking and I was like, oh man, those years I had a bathtub, and then those years I didn't have a bathtub, and this was kind of happening. So that's like kind of a trick I do. The other thing I do is I drink a lot of tea. Yeah. So tea for me, because it's such a subtle gift of drinking, kind of conversing with the spirit of the tea plant. You have to get still. You can't drink tea and like ride your bike or go for a walk. You really have to sit, and you have your little place, and it's ritualized. I got my little incense, I got my plants, I get the hot water, and I get the water, I put it in, I got my perfect cups, I'm drinking this tea from this place, I need to use this pot, and it gives me this moment where I can just be still. Yeah. And then I literally, I live in Bali and there's wonderful nature everywhere, but I literally just have this small little garden, and I just look out the small little window and I drink tea and I just look and I just see what starts to come to me, and I start to see, okay, that's something. Oh, you've got to do that. That's a good idea. Let's do that. Okay. No, I don't get up and just go do that. I kind of have it, and the other thing I have is massage, because massage, like I notice when I listen to something when I massage, I don't have the same experience. But when I go and I get a massage, I literally go into such deep meditation. I get so much clarity. I'm like, oh, and I didn't talk so well to that person today. I need to call them, and I need to, So those are like three kind of big tricks, that I pause myself. But really, the easiest one is just taking a big breath, right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Excuse me, I need a moment. I need to pause.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, that's right.
We got to get these rhymed off on the tip of our tongue sometimes because it's so needed. But wow. And, here now you're going into the dye business as a fashion designer, accessing the creativity in a new way.
Yeah.
How did that dawn?
Well, so I had the float tank business, and then obviously COVID's come along, and we were kind of living, but not really living. We were surviving, right? And I went into the float tank, and I've done so many floats now. Also, by the way, float tank is a great way to have some self-reflection. By the way, I forgot to make that plug.
If you come to Bali, or if in your town in wherever you are in the UK, Ireland, or around the world, check out some float tanks. They're pretty good for helping you slow down and reflect.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, in that part of the world, getting into some cold water, getting into a waterfall, Like having a quick little dip in a stream. I mean, that's gonna bring you into stillness.
I'm taking my mom.
Yeah.
For her and me, for the first time, we're going to go and swim in an Irish lake when I come back, and not only is it going to be a great experience individually, but together, to have that sort of pop together is maybe start something for her if I leave, or I think it's nice. Thanks for reminding us. Just give me a little bit of warmth there, feeling into that. Yeah, get into nature, guys. Slow it down and remember the medicine's all around.
It's so simple that's it. It's just getting into nature, but like actually you have to do it with a little bit of assertiveness, you know, because it's really easy to get into nature and then just get on your phone or whatever it is. It's like, okay, no, I'm going to walk from here to there with no phone, you know, like you have to kind of put a little bit of emphasis on it, because I get it. It's easy to get distracted around here.
I remember in my early apprenticeship, I worked with a Siberian shaman for about 5 years, and 3 years with this lady, and she taught me that before I enter into nature, I ask its permission. You know, I just think, I said, let me ask their permission. What do you mean? Well, you just sit down and you ask and you see what they say.
Amazing.
So I just said, I like, even with my wife in the rice fields, I said, she says, what are you doing? I said, I'm asking, is it okay to go in here? She says, how do you know? I said, well, do you want to do it with me? And old Catholic churches back in the day, on a certain day of the year, they would come in and 12 o'clock at night, and they would hear the spirits cry, and they would hear, and you'd be quiet. And it was listening in sacred spaces, listening in nature for responses when you ask for something in the dead of night or in the everyday life when you go into nature. It's profound. It's like you're just slowing down. There's information everywhere, guys. And just like, try that out. You know, go to your local park, sit down, go to the forest at the back of the town where you live, or up in the mountain to that place you went as a kid and you forgot about it. Go there by yourself and get moved, and then take your family there. You know?
Yeah, I love Hafez. He has his quote. It says, "There's secrets in the morning dew." You know, so it's like, but you got to get out and
you got to get your feet onto it.
Yeah, you got to get out to that in that time when there's still morning dew and listen to those secrets. Yeah. So so I had these float tanks, and it's been a joy to give this offering, but it never really got off the ground. Yeah, it's like we've been kind of just surviving, and excuse me, and so then I was taking a float, and I had taken so many floats before that I know exactly what each float kind of gives me. Yeah, so like sometimes it's hard to explain. There's varieties of different floats, right? And one time I was in this float tank, and it was like I was bombarded with thoughts, bombarded like ping pong kind of pinball, ding 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 ding, thoughts, and I never had that before. And I was like, I literally get up, and I'm like, what is going on here? You're like, what is this? Okay, what is this? I'm done with this, because I didn't like it, you know, because it was like literally just a Las Vegas casino going off in my head. And I come back down and I relax, I take a deep breath, and then literally like an idea pops up in my brain like toast, you know, and it was like, call my friend Alex, tell him you want to start this business. And I was like, okay. So I get out, and after you get out of the float, you know, you're kind of in like a little bit of a spacious, cloudy, soft place. I was amped, you know. So I call him, and it's like, you know, he's in California time, and I'm like, Alex, we're gonna start this business. And he's like, he hasn't heard from me for like 2 years. It's like my best friend that I started playing paintball with. And I said, we're gonna start this business, you know. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, I need $5,000. And he's like, maybe, you know, let's talk about it. Anyways, we're now almost a little over a year in this business, and it's been a really thriving business, and it's just the beginning. And so we're doing these really cool things for the sport of paintball, and then now we're getting into garments, and it's just been really fun.
What's the name of the company?
Hormesis. Yeah, Hormesis is the state. It's called the hormetic state, and it's like when you fast. it's that state, like that perfect place, that Goldilocks place where you're like burning fat and you have energy. Yeah. Like too much. It's again, too much.
It's a sensitive place.
It's a sensitive place. Yeah. It's like the same thing when you work out, you want to be in a hormetic space because you don't want to tear your muscles to under repair, and you don't want to work out too little so you don't get anything. So that it's that hormesis is
sweet spot.
Sweet spot. Yeah.
Wow.
So we've been just really connecting with each other, which is a big part of the journey because we started this paintball thing together. He was one of the guys that I went with when I was a kid. And then we have such a long story, like leaving teams back and forth. So it's this whole drama. And now we're reunited on like a different playing field. And it's really mature. And it's actually really beautiful because it's like creative, no competition. And we're really helping each other. And then the more we help each other, the more the business thrives, and the more we can assist in the whole community of paintball. And so then this has turned into, now we raised some money. We're doing a documentary film, and there's so much more that's coming. Yeah, and so it's really like this amazing algorithm of the spirit, and then of course, so the float tanks didn't make me any money, and they were kind of my cool business, but it wasn't really there. But then it gave me such a gift, right? So now I look at it like, whoa, actually, this thing is bigger than I think it is, the float tanks, in terms of my personal wealth and growth, right? So I can't look at it as in a win or loss business. I got to look at it as in, wow, what has this given me? And it's given me a lot. So I love it. We're still going to have a float tank here in Ubud, and we're still offering that, and it's still going to grow. And I hope people can go and float and get in there and get in touch with themselves and relax and let go and see what messages are that are coming through, And I feel like float tanks haven't even fully, they haven't peaked, and they haven't, they're not even close to their zenith yet. I see it coming. So I feel like I want to be on the forefront of that when that does happen. And they're old. I mean, the float tanks have been around since the 60s, but people just don't get it yet because we're so hardwired and we're so active and we're so, our attention is so distracted, and we've got to, cook and do all these things. I get it. Yeah. But one thing that to take from this, if you ever do float or do meditation, it's like really filling up your own well, right? And that's how I see floating. It's like, you got to restore yourself, right? You're a dad, you're a husband. If you are frazzled and you are, stressed, what's going to happen?
You give it to everybody as unwanted gifts.
That's right. And all you're doing is affecting these people that you love. So if you're full, right? So like, what happens when you have a good massage, or, you have a day off of work or whatever, you're just beaming and you're full of love, and all you want to do is love your child, love your wife, and cook, and honey, I did this. And so that's really it. Like, it's so selfish in a way, but not. Like, you got to take care of yourself, right?
You got to fill up, and you got to, because then you're nourished, and then you can give that to other people. So often we're running on the treadmill, right? And that's right. Because we want to, sometimes we're stuck in a situation where we believe we have to run all the time. And I think it's a consistent renegotiation and a real pausing to really assess your quality of life, which affects, so many aspects of how you are with you and how you are with the other and how you are with the world and the environment. And as I've been sitting here in these wonderful waves coming towards me of your journey in a way that I didn't know as much before, it's a constant changing, constant cooking, a constant slowing down, this sort of alchemy of really being curious. And everybody out there, this is anybody can do this. It may feel a little bit, edgy sometimes to want to really reflect or to slow down and just give it a go. Just give it a go. And as I know Oliver now probably about the best part of 8 years, and he's always reinventing. There's always this wonderful playfulness that I feel when I'm around you. That's bloody contagious. This bloody, and I think this is another thing about, he hasn't talked about it yet, and we're going to have to end soon because I have to tuck my baby into the bed. But it's that sort of playful aliveness that comes with this, because things are moving, they're not dormant.
That's right. Yeah.
And there's a sort of play with life as well, and not getting too all fucking serious about it.
That's what you said. It's like, yeah, we're too serious, and it's like,
And it's for me, sitting here and feeling into this energy, it's like it's inspiring. It's inspiring because for me, I keep reinventing myself as much as I can. Sometimes I get stuck into habitual behaviors and busyness. I think the first couple of years I knew Oliver, some of the times when I would meet him, I'd say, hey, I can't stop. I have to go. I have a client. I can't stop. I have to go. I have a retreat going on.
He's addicted to helping people.
I've been working really hard to come into recovery of helping people and help myself first, and then change where the help is coming from. A deficit or a fullness, and I think that's the fullness that beckons around you. Thanks when I'm with you. And so here, everybody, let's just end with that. My prayer for everyone is that find that fullness. And the key points today is like slow down and see how you see things, and maybe start to look at how to shift how you see things. Slowing down, pausing, finding things to pause. Nature, baths, therapy, float tanks, walks in nature, swimming in the ocean or in a lake. Changing it up. If you're not happy, taking that risk, tell somebody what you're feeling inside. Don't keep it inside. Don't keep it all isolated in here. Feel it and then talk about it, whatever that is. Maybe you always wanted to be a florist, Tell somebody about it. Start to get some momentum there. Let 2022 be a year where you follow your heart and never leads you astray. You may get a little bit of turbulence coming out and letting go of where the security was, but sometimes the security is dulling, So, and we're here if you need any help. You can reach out. And what's the name of your brand again?
Hormesis Paintball.
Hormesis Paintball, and he's coming out with a clothing range that will be on and out in the world soon.
I gotta get you.
You gotta get me a double XL, extra wide boy, please. I'm leaving soon, so you gotta get a commission. I got you. But hey, everybody, thank you, and I'm inspired by this man so much. Thank you, Oliver.
My pleasure. May 2022 be a newer and truer you, yeah? Bigger and better than ever. Best day ever. You're the master creator of your reality. This is a love story. And you're starring in it.
There's nothing I can say to that, everybody. Take care. We'll be back next week. Big love.